We'll start with the opening pledge of allegiance and prayer, please. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Commissioner Williams, will you please lead us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, bless this day that you have granted us. Father, thank you for the rain that you have bestowed upon Mills County. Father, be with us as we do the business of Mills County. Guide and direct us in our actions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well, we got a good crowd here today. Got lots of business to do. So number 2, review and act on minutes of November the 14th, which is in our commissioners' packages.
I have a couple of questions on mine.
Yes, sir.
On number 5.
Yes.
Is a burn ban, is it lifted?
No, it has been lifted. Yes, sir, from our last meeting. So there's burn ban has been lifted.
Well, the wording in it is wrong too. On the chiefs that he talked to, you see that was so no reason to lift the burn ban?
Okay. I see that.
Okay. I just want to-
Yeah, and I overlooked that myself. Sonia, are you looking at number 5?
There's no reason not to lift. the
Yeah.
burden.
You got that, Sonia?
Yes.
Okay. Any other corrections?
Number 6,
Number 6?
need to add Melissa to the account. I had Melissa.
Okay, say that again, Mike.
Number 6, instead of motion to add Melissa,
Uh-huh.
it should be add.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other changes or corrections?
If no other corrections, I'll move with accepted as presented.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Guerin. Yes.
Not as presented, but as corrected.
Not as presented, but as corrected. So for Commissioner Guerin,
Yes.
okay, did you hear that,
I
Jed?
got it.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion, second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of November 14th, say aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Okay. Audience with individuals. Okay, we have several people speaking later. Okay, consider and act on approving accounts payable. Which is also in our package.
Summer, is this the last bill on the second item, from Allison Bass and McGee? Is that the last bill?
That would be a Jackie question.
Okay.
What was your question, Jason?
The number 2. Second.
I would be, so, but that would be a Jackie question.
Okay.
No, and I'm on retainer,
I don't know.
No,
Yes.
on retainer.
no, we don't get it. Yes.
Let's go ahead. Your budget allotment. Yeah.
The autopsy fee, I'll bring y'all's attention, was regarding the accident that occurred probably 4 months ago or so for the family. Up here on the loop.
I move with approve the accounts payable.
We got a motion to approve the accounts as payable. I'll second it. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the accounts payable, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, moving on. We're going to bring number 9
the IT update with Mr. Sam Goldsmith up next. Sam, good morning. Thanks for coming. Yeah,
Good morning. Commissioner. So thank you all for having us this morning. It's good to see you all. Merry Christmas or Merry, we're not Merry Christmas yet.
happy Thanksgiving, soon to be Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same Merry Christmas. We'll come faster than it's today. We've got a couple of items on the agenda this morning. One of them is, which we asked the judge to consider first, is just something that doesn't need action, but it's just kind of a general IT update. So this basically is a report we'll give you all periodically on where we are in projects for the county, and also kind of give you a roadmap and a look ahead as to what's coming in the future. So there on page 1 of the IT update, you can see kind of the items that we've addressed from July the 1st of this year, in the period ending 10/31 of this year. So we continue to onboard computers and streamline county setup for security reasons. And we work multiple outages on behalf of the county. We moved to streamline process for updating your accounting system, which is something that we know is going to have to be replaced probably in the next year or so, but we try to make improvements in that area. We've moved the courthouse to a new cloud-based phone system, which y'all approved back in June. We've audited the county's email system and cleaned up any users that are no longer employed. And we're implementing a process so that when a user leaves the county, that's getting disabled closer to real time, which is one of the requirements on the county, that when someone leaves the county, that you need to get them disabled through the system so they can access information possibly from the outside. We've completed a few new computer setups as needed, when an individual office asked for that. We've worked numerous issues that have been reported through our automated tool of viruses and malware found on different systems. We worked with the clerk's office to transition some of the setup in that office in order to accommodate the new employee that was approved by Commissioner's Court in the current fiscal year. We've worked to recycle old technology items that we don't have stuff stuffed all over the building, and I appreciate y'all approving that. That's something as we continue to find things, we'll ask for that to be declared salvage, which that process means that we remove the hard drive from it, we keep the hard drive for some time for security reasons, and then we'll ultimately have that destroyed. But we send the computer off and printer and anything technology wise to a recycling company so that it does not end up in your local landfill. And then there were no issues reported to us during the recent election, thankfully, but our team was available from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and staff our phones extended hours on election day, and then the reports were available outside of that window. So that's kind of the current update of the page 2, Roman numeral 2, shows you the kind of tickets that we've worked on behalf of the county, and those are broken down into critical, high, medium, and low, and they total 112 tickets worth during this reporting period. Item 3 talks about the current projects that we're working on for the county. One is we're continuing to make progress in implementing some of the network upgrades that y'all approved back in June. Some of that equipment we've been waiting on, and some of it actually is projected to arrive today. But we are working through that, and you'll get a final invoice once that is project's wrapped up. I'm working with the clerk's office to migrate from LGS to Tyler Technologies, which was approved by the court. And the technology assessment side of that has been completed, and that's currently in progress with the clerk's office. One thing that we're asking for today, which will be an agenda item after this item, is streamlining the licensing for Microsoft Office, which is an application which are used for both email and in the actual individual licensing per computer per user. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then we're working on the security system upgrades, which is going to include improved security for the courthouse, as well as looking at replacing some of the outdated camera issues at the jail that are plaguing the sheriff and his staff. And that item I hope to have as an individual thing on your agenda today. And it looks like that'll probably be following the Commissioner's Court. But just to kind of give you an idea, we met with Judge Johnson, we met with the sheriff. We all sat down and talked about how to move forward with the project, both for the courthouse and for the jail side. We know that this project is going to exceed $50,000, which means that's going to trigger the bid process. And so what we're working on for Mills County is a spec sheet of all the technical specifications, so that that can be, if approved by Commissioners Court, could be advertised for bid in the future. I was trying to have those specs completed for y'all's consideration today, but we're not quite there yet. I do anticipate having them by the next meeting, and then that would be something that y'all would have to, if you choose to approve it, it would have to be advertised for 2 weeks. I think there's a waiting period after the 2 weeks, and then any outside company that wants to propose would submit a sealed competitive proposal. And after that, the county would open them in an open court. And what we're going to be asking is that they just be opened in court and read into the record, but no action taken. And then that'll give us time to sit down with the judge and with the sheriff and work through, do these meet everyone's expectations? So I kind of compare them to make sure the spec was met. And then just importantly, give the sheriff an opportunity to visit with other law enforcement agencies that maybe that vendor has worked with, go look at their facility, make sure that we know what we're getting, and that's going to be the needs of the county. To give you an idea, part of this has been funded in the current fiscal year of the courthouse, but there's not a defined set aside amount for the law enforcement center. The sheriff has some funds in his budget, but we expect this project to be a significant capital outlay. And so once it comes back to you, trying to explore how it's to be funded, that's going to be a challenge of how we handle it. I don't think that's news to any of y'all, but just kind of want to give you an update on the most recent progress and discussions with that. We did complete the cabling walkthrough of the courthouse because we know how do we get the cable to the individual cameras. It's going to be a challenge just because of the historic nature of this building. Whereas the law enforcement center side, that's a lot more straightforward because it's a 1-story building. It has access to the crawl space above the interior ceiling. Any questions on that? Okay, then moving on to the last page. These are things that we're not asking for any action today, but I try to give you all an idea. This is page 3, running into 4. That future items that need to be addressed. We're going to be looking at replacing computers that are no longer under warranty or end of life, and we have that budgeted in the current fiscal year. After the network improvements are completed, we're going to be implementing an Active Directory and a new centralized server for the county, and that's currently budgeted in the current fiscal year, meaning that if y'all already dealt with that in the budgeting process, there's no action needed to move forward. We're looking at doing proactive maintenance of the main battery backup system at the law enforcement center. That's something that we recommend maintenance to be done every 3 to 5 years. Y'all been there over 5 years, and it's just something that we probably are going to have to swap the batteries out in. That was budgeted in the current fiscal year as well. Implementation of new battery backups at the law enforcement center. We've got that in the budget. I don't know if it's needed, so that's as we're working there. That's one of the things we're going to be looking at. But the goal is that if the county loses power, the computers stay up while the generators are coming online. And some individual computers had battery backups and some of them didn't. So that's one thing we're looking at, but we do got that in the IT budget in the current fiscal year as well. One thing that we've discussed is migrating the law enforcement center phone system over to a cloud-based phone system. That's revenue neutral, meaning it's not going to take basically the expense that's going to go away on the law enforcement center side will offset the cost of the new system. But we're trying to make as many improvements as we can to the infrastructure before we go change something that's technically working. Whereas the courthouse phone system was having some challenges before. That's why we moved forward with that first. There were a couple of issues with deploying that we expected, but those got resolved. So I think that puts the county in a better position that when the law enforcement center side needs to happen, there shouldn't be any bumps in the road or hiccups because we already worked through those environments. Network connectivity between the courthouse and law enforcement center. We reached out to Central Texas Telephone about that and started those discussions. That's interesting there. Implementation of a backup and disaster recovery plan for county data. We're currently evaluating what plans are in place and then where the gaps are, and we'll come back to y'all with some reports in the future. And then one thing that's kind of on our roadmap is just a look at the compliance that was developed out of the election security assessment. That's something that y'all went through in 2019. And we know that everything that we're proposing and that we're recommending to the county is putting you in a better position when it comes to meeting those criteria of that election assessment. But once we've got kind of the basics in place, we want to go back and look at that assessment and say, okay, we've knocked off items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to deal 5, 6.
Do you have a copy of the security assessment?
I think you gave it to us, but I don't.
I know that Crown presented it to court and it was a multi-page document.
Right.
But if you do not have it, I'll be finding a share.
I appreciate that, and just know, commissioners and judge, that that's something that is protected by law, so that's not disclosed to the public. There aren't any kind of financial repercussions or improvements that would happen to improve that would be a part of open court. But because of the sensitive nature of election security, we don't.
When is that
publish
deadline?
that. There isn't currently a deadline. Basically, the first phase was the state of Texas and after the 2017, I think, legislative session, they offered this as a proactive thing to just assess where you are security wise for an election. They first said it was optional, and then they said, no, it's not optional, you have to do it. They have not come back with, shall, the law, when it says shall, you have to do it, whether they do the money or not. I fully expect that to change after this legislative session that starts in January. But there's not a definitive time frame. It's more of they gave the county a score, they gave you a target of where they want you to be, and then they gave the state wide, all counties as a whole, a target of where they want everyone to be in the next 2 to 4 years. And so it's a matter of just trying to work towards that. Because if you wait until they say the county has to do this, it's going to be like a fast-paced type of situation. If there was any concern of any type of security issue election-wise, which there is not a concern of that currently, we would obviously be dealing with that. But this is more just a best practices, making sure there are policies in place. A lot of what it has to do with is it wants to see a technology process documented and followed. And then it wants to see like a continuity of operations plan documented and followed, so that if I'm all of a sudden out of the equation, if Scott is all of a sudden out of the equation, the show must go on, that situation. But that's something I just want to keep on y'all's horizon, because I do expect the law to change on that. And everything we're doing is getting us closer to improving the score on that process. To give you an idea, some counties we deal with, after they got the basic assessment, which was free of charge to the county, the state paid for that. They went and hired an outside consultant to tell them what all they needed to do to up that score. And that process is about $25,000. Our position is we improve what we know we need to improve and then rescore, instead of just paying someone doubling down on what we need to be doing. We need to go do what we can do and then reevaluate that. And so there may be a time that makes sense, but right now, with what y'all approved and path we're on, I think we're making progress. So the only thing that will be a future, like immediate future out of the items that I addressed was coming back to the court with those technical specs for the cameras, and then asking the court to consider putting that out for advertise for a competitive sealed proposal. So any question that I can answer on the IT update?
Commissioner Sheriff Hammond, do you have any questions on your end of your department?
What I like is most of this report is proactive and not reactive. And the reactive, which we need right now, is, and the sheriff brought it to us months and months ago. So it's not really a reactive that. So the sheriff's department, the only reactive situation. right now.
Well,
So-
and just remember that every hour that someone sits in a chair here, there's 3 hours out there, being there 24/7.
Yeah,
So law enforcement centers always present, more challenges than what the courthouse does, because at the courthouse, for instance, when we went to replace the phone system, we said at 4 o'clock, phones are going down and we're going to stay until we get them back up. We're out there, it's more of a delicate dance, because we can't just say, don't call 911 or don't call us if you have a fire for 8 hours. We have to have a complete new system up and running before we decommission the old system. But I think with kind of the path we're on, the improvements being made, that's going to help the sheriff and his staff. We've already onboarded all their computers and have them reporting from a patch management, antivirus, etc. And that's all being documented through our ticketing system. The sheriff gets a copy of that, the jail administrator gets a copy of that. So we've already put some processes in place that are going to protect the county, protect the sheriff, and to ensure that we're doing everything we need to be doing compliance wise. So we're trying to be on the front end of that. Very proactive.
I like it a lot.
Well, Sam, I'm glad we got you looking after us.
Yeah, well,
Thank
thank you. I will pause and say for just a moment, David Sons is new to our team. He's here in the front row.
Yes.
David comes to us from the Region 11, which is the Fort Worth ISD or Fort Worth area school system. And was the director of technology for them for 24 years. They have the second largest computer network, fiber optic network in the United States for a school system. Second only to the Los Angeles Public
Wow.
School System. So he is a wealth of information. He is right here in your backyard, just 2 county or Calhoun County area, like Brown County, Calhoun County line. And is a face y'all are seeing more of along with other people in our community on that. So we're thankful to have David to help us and to help us help you.
Super.
Other questions on IT update?
Jim, any other questions
Nothing.
on IT?
I don't think we need action on this. This wasn't an item for action. It's just more of a general update.
Okay.
If you want to move, Judge, to the one that talks about the fire panel, that's pretty.
Well, do you want to do number 7, consider an act on Microsoft
Yeah.
and email licensing? Let's do number 7 now on the amended agenda. Consider an act on Microsoft and email licensing.
Yes, sir. So this is a separate handout that you have at the top of it. It says current Mills County email and Microsoft licensing. What we're asking you to do or to consider today is kind of a laundry list of things. We're trying to streamline the email deployment the county has, the licensing that the county has, and how that is set up. Currently, over the years, there were just multiple hands in that cookie jar, so to speak, and every office is set up a little bit different. Every email address is a little bit different. The licensing is not followed to the nth degree that needs to be followed from a legal standpoint. And so what we're asking y'all to consider today is streamlining that process so that when we deploy a new user, they get the same kind of license at the same cost, and we know exactly how that's set up. And when we deactivate a user, if someone leaves, we know how to do that. Right now, it's kind of like just throw something at the wall and see what sticks, because every office, every person, every department is different. And that presents challenges. The county is legally required to follow what's called a EULA, an end user license agreement with Microsoft. And the repercussions if you don't follow that agreement and you get audited by Microsoft, which they can do at any time, is a steep penalty. So let me give you an example. If you purchase one office or one copy of Microsoft Office licensing, and then you go and install it on 6 different computers, that's against what federal copyright, that's against your license agreement, etc. We run into a couple of situations where we're kind of on the line there. There's not blatant, just outside the guidelines, I'll put it that way. But we do need to streamline this process. The first page, one of the things we're asking you to consider is when you purchase Microsoft licensing, you have to have like a partner agreement. Like you have to be associated with someone that does business with Microsoft. We do business with Microsoft and have that partner agreement. Texas Association of Counties has that agreement as well. One thing we're asking you to consider is moving over to our partner agreement, because it would speed up the amount of, it would speed up the deployment process. And when your user has an issue, we don't have to get paperwork signed by the county, then sent to TAC, then signed by TAC, then the change made, and then sent back to us where we can actually implement it. It would be, you come to us, we look at what your agreement with us is. If you're going to increase your licensing, we can email you back and say, this is going to increase by $14 a month. Is that okay, yes or no? And then we can make the change. There's a lot of roadblocks and barriers in the process right now. I'll tell you what the pros and cons of that moving here are in just a moment, but on this very first page, there's not a huge cost savings of what we can offer versus what TAC can offer, but it's apples to apples, meaning it's the exact same product. It's a matter of who you pay the invoice to. And currently what we did, it was an evaluation of what you have currently with TAC you're paying about $327 a month. Ours would be about $20 less than that. That's not worth changing for. $20 is not a big deal in the grand scheme of what we're trying to accomplish. But what it's going to improve is what we're trying to outline. The only reason I gave you this is we're asking for the licenses to increase and become compliant and to be streamlined, which means the cost is going to go up. But I tried to give you a cost comparison of what you're paying today with PAC versus us, so that you know when you see this higher cost, it's not because we're higher, it's just we're adding licensing. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we move on to the second page of that, here are things we're recommending. We're more than willing to welcome feedback and questions. I think there are going to be questions on this. This is our recommendation. We'll tell you why it's our recommendation. But the first thing is we're recommending that we move the Microsoft license agreement to Goldston Solutions. We're recommending that we move to Office application deployment for 30 users, which means instead of currently the sheriff has Microsoft Office 2013. That is outdated and old, and instead of going out and buying that, we're just going to we would propose moving that over to a monthly license agreement, which is called Office 365, if you're familiar with that term. We're saying 30 of your users would move to the full version where they have the Office applications, they have email, etc. 15 of your users, which is actually 14, I've added it by one just because we want to have a little bit of wiggle room. Would just have email only. Those are typically dispatchers, meaning the computer they sit in front of is shift based. It would have the full Office applications, but they just need an email address. Second thing that we're asking for is to add email backup and retention. This is something you do not have currently, and to add a product called SecureLink. This is not something you have currently. What these two things do is if you have a user delete email, we can recover it. If you have a user that gets that quits or gets fired and they delete everything, or the county disables their email, which makes it go away, we can go back a year from now and get a records request and we can recover it. This is something that would help the county from a compliance standpoint, so the records request and just protecting the county and the county's employees to where if something needs to be reproduced or kind of dug up, so to speak, that it could be found. Whereas currently, if you delete an email on your current system, and you delete it from your computer, it's gone forever. And so the law, like Texas local government, the law, doesn't consider some of these things, meaning like the law says you have to keep every document that comes into your office for a retention schedule. Well, that law was created before email was created. So are you breaking the law by hitting delete on a Office Depot ad? A reasonable person would say no, but I'm a lawyer and you know what you're going to get asked for. So this basically just puts a system in place where the county, if you're ever asked for reproducing email, that the IT administrator could go back and pull that back up. The SecureLink is when you click a link in your email, like it said, hey, Mr. Commissioner, click here. We've been trying to deliver this package to you for a week and we're about to return it. And it looks like it's UPS.com and you click it. This goes out ahead of that click and looks, is it really going to UPS.com? Is it known to be malicious? Is it known to be good? It's kind of putting a barrier between the action of clicking and then the result that happens at the end of that. That takes about 1 to 2 seconds at max. So it's not something that hinders your employee. It's not something that slows down your employee. It just goes out in front of them to make sure what they're telling the computer to do, that they're going to get the result that they expect. I'll pause here and just say that if any organization, county, a major corporation, a bank, is compromised from a computer standpoint, the odds of it being through email are probably 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. This is where stuff from the outside comes in, that you hear the horror stories on the news of, they're hit by ransomware or whatever. It generates through email. SecureLink, one of the things it does as well is we as the IT vendor can't see the content of every email, but we can see the subject line and who that email went to. So if, for instance, the judge gets an email that we know to be malicious, and we can go in and look at the subject line, we can put that into the search field and any other Mills County employee that received the same email, it will remediate it out of their box before they even see it or before they click it. So we don't have to go around and look at every computer. Did they get the malicious email with the virus attached? We just put the subject line into the search and then say, this is bad, block it for everyone. And it's as if it never showed up to their inbox. So that is, we believe that's a major benefit, you know, in trying to add.
That's already happened.
Yes, sir.
Last year.
Yes, sir. And what we're seeing, so it's phishing, and it's not spelled like, you know, Ian Griffith.
Yeah, PH, yeah.
It's spelled with PH. Phishing is when you just throw stuff out there and you make it look like you're legitimate, trying to get someone to look at it. Spear phishing is when I know Jet Johnson is the county judge, and I know Summer Campbell is the treasurer, and I take an email that looks like it's coming from Summer to the judge, trying to get him to click something. We are seeing that in Texas counties a lot right now. And we saw it before the election. We saw it during the budgetary process. So the people out there, that means there's a human sitting behind a screen that knows that it's your budget time and that you're moving money and that you're approving different things. And they're trying to get someone to click the link that would allow them access to your bank account, allow them access to your computer, etc. So phishing, that's a concern everyone has. But when you get into spear phishing, it's like they're specifically targeting you and you. And it's a lot easier to make that mistake because it's like, it's someone you deal with every day. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so we can put all the processes in place that technology can offer. But ultimately, if something doesn't sound right to you, or you think that's odd, I've never gotten an email asking me to do this before, that should be like alarm bells, like stop what you're doing, pick up the phone and call someone. One of the things we saw in the county is transferring money from one account to another. There is someone that I personally knew that is in the oil and gas business, that they were spearphished and they owed the contractor several $100,000. And the contractor sent them an email saying, we changed our bank account, transfer it here, and they did it.
Yeah.
Because they knew they owed the money, they knew the amount of money being requested was within reason of what they owed them. And it looked like it was coming from the controller of that company. And they just thought, well, they updated their bank account. Lucky for them, that was the United States bank account, which meant the FBI and people involved in that process could get it back before it's cleared. But if you do it to an outside, an outside offshore thing, it's gone. The third thing we're asking for is to streamline the deployment of email, which would move to like first name dot last name for email accounts. Currently, some people are their first name dot last name, some people are first initial last name, some people are first initial middle initial last name, some people are county judge. There's no consistency there. And as we move to a server infrastructure, we need to have a uniform credential, meaning that you just know when you're logged into the accounting system, that's first name, not last name. For those of you who are used to Sheriff Hammonds or co-judge or county judge, I don't know, Judge Johnson, your email will still deliver to that new account. It's not like it would be outside of London, but we would ask that we move to a uniform naming convention. One of the things that we can do at the same time, which is all of this is up to you all, but we're just outlining what our recommendations are. One thing that we can do at the same time is move from co.mills.tx.us, which is your current email address, to just millscounty.org, which makes that a lot easier. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue when you're trying to tell someone over the phone. My email is sam.goldsmith@co.mills.tx.us. Where you can say sam.goldsmith@millscounty.org, as long as they can spell it. And sometimes I have to spell it in county to people. As long as they can spell, they've got it. But just to reiterate, if your old email would still dump into this indefinitely. So as you get business cards reprinted, you'd print them with a new address. As you change your login settings, you'd reprint them, but it's not going to be the date that your old email address just stops working, and that all of a sudden creates a hardship or a burden to use.
So we don't have to get like stationery and all that stuff reprinted. Anytime.
So we'll continue to get the emails at co.tx.us for now on, or?
For as long as you want them to work.
Okay.
And any new user that's set up, obviously they just wouldn't have
Yeah.
that, meaning because they've never had it. But you can continue to get them as long as you want to get them, and there's no additional cost for that. So it's not like you're paying for a second service.
Okay.
A lot of counties we've done this, and there's often a little bit of pushback at the front end, but then once you get it working and set up and you get used to it, it's usually like, oh, I'm glad I did that. But to give you an idea, there's no like hard cutoff date. That's usually what people are worried about. Like my email's just gonna stop working in this state, and then I've still got all this card traps, I've got all this stuff here. We can continue to have this in the background as long as y'all say that you want it in the background. What I was gonna say is that often when people cut off the old one, when they say, okay, I'm done with that, they like it because all of the junk goes away that they get. And also to give you an idea, the one thing we're trying to do, or that we recommend for any government is like, for instance, Judge Johnson just took over county judge at co.notebook.us. Well, there may be stuff on there that he doesn't want, but the former judge did want. Well, he has to sit there and go through every one of them and unsubscribe. Where if you're a new user, you get to pick what you have delivered to your email box. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you're just automatically rolling it over. Now, the con side to that is if you swap out, for instance, like if when Summer came on board, she was just automatically getting all the old clerk stuff. So she had a little bit of grace period, I guess, that she could transition that to yourself. We can still have those aliases. Like if you change employees from Jason Williams to someone else because you move up or whatever the situation is, or you say, this is not my circus. But the next person can have the alias until they transition everything like Atlas serve and etc. The third page outlines the cost. Basically, the first line item says these are the 30 users. Email backup, the secure link, and the office applications. That's you're looking at $23.50 per user. And that is slightly less than that when we went and ran the numbers. The email only, which is email backup and secure link, that's $14 a user. And so you can see there what your monthly cost would be. If you wanted to not consider the email backup or the secure link, you can see what your cost savings would be there in the bracket of $150 for each of those. The thing I would tell you is you're already budgeted for email right now in the current fiscal year, but obviously this is an increase. We also budget for the office applications in the current fiscal year. And when I ran the numbers, it looked like there's about a $3,500 budget, the office deficit, so to speak, of what we budgeted for all of this versus what it's going to cost. However, the IT budget, there are items that we accomplished last year that we don't think we're going to have to accomplish this year. I think with what y'all budgeted for IT, if this is something you want to move forward with, that we can work with someone and we can make the numbers line up in that IT like capital expenditure side that was allocated for the current fiscal year. There is a one-time cost of $1,150, and that's just to get all of this set up in the background. And like I said, that's just a one-time thing, and it breaks down what the cost per item is. I would highly recommend the email backup and the secure link. If you want to do one and not the other, to save a little bit, you can. But just know, I gave you the itemized cost of $160 per month for the email backup, and then $160 a month for the secure link. And what that is that it's broken down per user. I just want to do one number to give you an idea. But I itemized those so that you would see, risk versus reward. Is it worth $320 a month to know that this is covered, or is that $300 better spent elsewhere? And that's when you all are sitting behind the desk, you get to decide that, and we'll implement whatever you decide.
What is that?
Okay, questions?
What is that line item? Do you have it?
non-departmental expenses, but IT, insurance or IT improvements. It's in the general fund.
Do you remember how much it's in there?
100,
It's like 183.
yeah, 183.
And some of that was for sheriff's department upgrade too.
Maybe
though.
about 36,000 of it was for sheriff's department, but
So let me speak to this. So we gave an itemized breakdown of how we got that number. You all just didn't take
Right.
183 out in there. We budgeted 40 something for the camera improvements on the courthouse side.
Uh-huh.
We also know that there's the courthouse security fund, which when I looked at the budget had 30 something in it. So we know we've got the budgets padded where we've got it budgeted in general fund, but we also have a restricted fund. That one more than offset, substantially offset this cost. So that's why I think we can work within the budget that y'all have allowed to still accomplish everything that you were setting out to accomplish while also accomplishing this. The only thing that you have to be willing to spend if we get to the end and we need some money is some of that courthouse security money, which all our money can only be spent on the courthouse security. So if we get the camera proposal back, and let's say the courthouse is $50,000 on the courthouse side of it, and you have $30-something thousand in your restricted fund, it's above our pay grade, but what I typically see counties do is spend that restricted fund money first, because general fund money does not have strings attached to it. You can spend it how you want. So you'd rather, whereas you can't spend a restricted fund on anything except for that one line. So that's when I say we've got some wiggle room in what y'all put in the current fiscal year, that's what I mean by that. That's how we're thinking.
Well, the only reason I was asking money concerns is because we know that the camera situation is priority.
Sure.
I would think that email backup and all that security would be next. But, I just want to make sure we have enough money there.
Right. To give you an idea, Commissioner, I can't definitively say what it's going to cost for the sheriff's office side of it, but I know that the sheriff, sorry, I'm going to get to the weeds here. You had an equipment budget and something else that we talked about, but let's say that's $50,000-$80,000. We know what it's going to take out there. It's going to be more than what you have budgeted for law enforcement in your side. I know that's not what anyone wants to hear, but just based on other projects we've done recently for law enforcement and knowing what they're facing. And we have three other law enforcement centers that were built similar time frame, same contractor, similar challenges that we worked through. We know it's going to be pretty substantial to do that. But we also know it has to be done from a compliance standpoint, from just protecting the county and protecting the sheriff and his staff.
Okay, I had one question. Sam, you mentioned earlier end user license agreement with TAC to go with your company.
Sure.
And say that again, the reason, the benefits.
So our reasoning is currently with TAC, they're slightly more expensive, but it's not a substantial.
Not much,
cost.
$30 or so a
Right.
month, you said.
It's not worth equivalent ever. Currently, if you have a new user start, or if we have a new computer deployed, we do all the work to deploy the computer and make it work. But when we get to the license part of it, we have to get a form filled out that we fill out. It has to come to you for signing, has to go back to TAC, then it has to go to someone else at TAC that actually assigns the license, and they send us the license. So our experience the last few months has been that could be same day, or that could be
Yeah, be
multiple
quicker.
days.
More efficient.
But it would cut out a lot of steps on our end, which in turn is, saving you all time on what you're paying us.
Okay,
And it would cut out the middleman, so to speak.
okay,
If for any reason, so one, Microsoft requires a 1-year license agreement for this pricing, which is new as of September 1st or something.
Yeah.
But if for any reason, after that 1 year, if y'all want to transition this back to TAC, it doesn't change how it's set up, it just changes where the bill is coming from.
Okay.
That's something that we're not going to tie your hands and say, no, you moved it to us, so we're not going to give it back to you
Okay.
by any means. But we're just trying to do it efficient and streamlined as possible.
okay.
So that's why we're recommending.
I personally feel like we should contact TAC. I don't know how long we've been doing it back.
So this, what you're with TAC right now started in April of 20. I would think 21. Pretty sure it's 21. But yes, so that's about when that started. Before they had gone an older email system and that was with them, but you've gotten a bill from them for something.
Okay. Other comments, discussion, questions?
Well, it says considering act. So we're gonna vote on
Well, we can see by motion, Sammy brought a lot of information to us.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like somewhat with Commissioner Parton about checking on this with TAC. I hadn't checked or anything. I'm sure it's fine, but I still like to check.
Sure.
And of course, some of the expense too, just want to verify.
Yeah.
Is there some parts we could do a motion on now that we could go ahead and agree on? I mean, I'm looking at three different things for a motion: the end user agreement, partner agreement with you, and also streamline development regarding emails.
So I think, Judge, because it's listed as one item, it's one item you can take action on. You could say what you wanted to do in that.
Okay,
But if you all want to talk to TAC, we welcome that opportunity as well. We work with TAC. They're
Sure.
a great partner. They help with y'all's insurance and with so many things with counties. So that's something that y'all want to check into first, and this is probably just need to be tabled, and you could bring it back at a future date. One thing I will tell you is we've had people on this type of system since 2015, and we're a little more nimble than TAC.
Okay.
Meaning that they moved y'all to it in 2021 because y'all were getting hit so much outside nonsense that it had to be done at that point. But Dawn is the lady that we deal with the TAC, the technology side. She's phenomenal. If you want to talk to her, and I get you her last name up in the email. If you want to talk to her, if you want to give me a call with you, we have no problem.
Sure.
With that.
Anything else, gentlemen? No. Well, what I'm hearing is maybe table this to the next meeting on this part. Now, I had another question. What about the moving on the fire panel on Secure Tech? Can we do that separately? Okay.
Yes, sir, and that was pretty
Yeah.
straightforward and simple. So whenever you're ready for that.
Well, I'll,
it. I'll make a motion.
okay, Parton, Commissioner Parton, go ahead and make your motion.
I make a motion, we table the decision on the Microsoft email licensing at a later date.
Okay, I'll second that motion. All those in favor of tabling the motion on the Microsoft email licensing to a later date, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. We'll table that, Sam, and do some more research. We'll get back to you.
Sure.
And thank you on that. And then let's move to number 8, consider an act on moving fire panel to integrate with Secure Tech.
Sure. So this one is a little more straightforward. If you might recall, Commissioner, fire alarm panel in the courthouse was hit by lightning and it traveled through the phone line, the individual phone line that was connected to that panel. It had not been repaired, and it still hasn't been repaired, even though I think y'all got it in your budget for this year, because why would you repair it when that could turn around and happen to you all over again and you'd have to start over? Our recommendation is the county has a wireless communication system for emergencies, and that's called Secure Tech. We can add the fire alarm panel to that system to where if the fire alarm is tripped or triggered from a smoke detector or someone pulls the report of fire, the alert would not go through a monitoring center. It would come directly across the sheriff's office radio, just the way the panic buttons do. So that process, what happens is the fire alarm goes off, it closes a relay, it would trigger across the public safety radio channel and say, attention, it's an automated message, an emergency, fire has been reported at the Mills County Courthouse, 1011 West, whatever, 4th Street. And that would be like an instant.
Okay.
It would come across every officer, anyone on your main channel, and your dispatch, and then they can page out fire or whomever. There's no monthly cost, there's an equipment cost, and then some labor to get this done. It's a one-time cost of $721. To give you an idea, y'all were spending, I want to say around $60 a month for just the phone line plus your opinion monitoring company. We have this in other counties and it's worked very well for them. It speeds up the reporting time and reduces the cost.
Okay. So one-time cost of $721, correct?
Yes, sir. Now, that's to integrate, that's our part to integrate it with the radio system.
Okay,
You do have to repair the fire panel, and that's something that Guy is working on.
He was already left.
Okay, he has a proposal or has gotten some quotes to repair the fire panel itself. This is just the communications part of it to tie it into the panel button.
Would that come out of that same line item as the payment or the secure tech system?
I don't know, but, I don't know if God has it built in his budget.
And one thing I would say on this one, if you want to consider approving this, and then we'll hold off on actually doing it until you'll get the fire alarm panel fixed. It makes sense to get that part done first, and then this part, but we've been listening with Guy about this and even back to Judge Smith. And this is kind of the path we were on with that reestablished.
yeah, I've been visiting with Guy on this for quite a bit, and I think it's something we need to move on pretty quick.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, currently the fire alarm system, if smoke is detected in the building, it's not for anyone. And it's not just because of this, it's because the main circuit board is compromised, and it's that red panel right outside the county judge's office.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion?
I do have one question that don't really pertain to this.
Sure.
We do still have one phone line in the county, in the courthouse that is still Frontier. Will it always be Frontier since it's in the
Yes, sir.
elevator or what's? the
So-
deal there?
Someone in our office, I think, reached out to y'all. I don't know if they reached out to Jackie, but they were watching this, and that was one of the questions y'all had. Currently, it's scheduled just to remain Frontier. It's for the elevator, or if someone gets stuck in the elevator, they push the button. The alternative to that is some elevator companies offer like a cellular version where you swap out the box or the electronics in the elevator, and it would just go out through a cell phone connection. We haven't looked into that. But in our original proposal to the county of moving the phone system over, we budgeted that one phone line with Frontier. So the cost that y'all approved, it outlines keeping that with Frontier. If you want us to look into, can we move it to cellular so that we get away from that Frontier completely and maybe save a little money? That's something we'd be willing to do. But currently, if status quo, unless someone tells us otherwise, that one phone line would remain Frontier. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't have a problem doing this universal switch on the fire panel. Just not quite sure where the money, some of the maintenance or whatever, but
Okay,
that would be my only question, but I think we need to get it done. I'm agree with you, Judge.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we increased, guys' maintenance budget, and this was part of it.
I'm thinking that we should, so I'll make a motion that we have consider an act on moving the fire panel to integrate to secure tech.
okay, a motion's been made by Commissioner Williams. Do I hear a second?
Also,
Motion by Williams, second by Commissioner Guerin. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right.
I know that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Monday morning.
After Thanksgiving. All right, well, Sam, thank you. You'll be around today or something, okay? And Sam, we'll get back to you on that other one we've tabled, okay? Well, Sam, good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna skip back to number 5. Consider an act on burn ban.
I'm happy to leave it on.
Well, I tell you, we put this on 2 weeks ago. We've gotten some rain, but I tell you, since then, and I didn't check any fire chiefs today, but we've had minimum 3 inches throughout most of the county. So it's one of the wettest Thanksgiving I've ever seen.
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay.
Just leave it alone.
So, we don't need to do any kind of motion or anything on that. Just leave it as
You do table it.
No action.
no action. Okay.
It's all, ain't it?
Pardon?
I mean, it's all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on.
Burn ban is automatically off. Unless
Okay.
Just gonna leave it off.
Okay. Moving on. Number 6. Consider an act on proclamation thanking Pretty Elementary School for their Veterans Day presentation. Craig, did you want to come up here for this or have any other comments? I'll read, Craig Wright, our Veteran Service Officer, sent this to us. This proclamation is to congratulate the Pretty Elementary School students and staff for a tremendous Veterans Day presentation. Although this was their first time the school children had this presentation, it was greatly appreciated by the veterans in attendance. The children put on a great performance that was very patriotic and heartwarming for not just the veterans, but all in attendance, of which there was a full house. These kids may or may not serve their country in the military, but will serve our country as great citizens. Thank you, Pretty School District, for teaching the children of your community's true patriotism. So on my hands here we have a Mills County proclamation. Whereas Mills County Commissioners Court congratulates the hard work, dedication, and passion of the Pretty Elementary Schools students and staff for their Veterans Day presentation. Whereas a patriotic and heartwarming performance was put on not just for the veterans, but for all those who attended. Whereas the children may or may not serve their country in the military, but will serve our country as great citizens. Therefore, the Commissioners Court of Mills County do hereby thank and congratulate Pretty Elementary School for their Veterans Day presentation and urge our citizens to remember our veterans as the children and staff of Pretty Elementary have done. Thank you to Pretty School District for teaching the children of your community true patriotism. And I will sign this as of this day. And I guess we need to have a motion and everything to approve this, Jack, Sonia, or not? Yeah, well, I'll make it a motion that we approve this proclamation regarding the Veterans Day presentation.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Guerin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Proclamation passes. And Craig, I'll sign this for you after we finish and give it to you, okay? Thank you. Thanks for all your work you've done. Okay, moving on to number 10. Consider an act on appointment of Jed Guerin from Mills County Appraisal District. Commissioner Williams have been on the board for quite a while. And Commissioner Williams, as he stated before, has had numerous other commitments of the boards he's on. And was going to get off that board. Jason, anything you want to comment on?
Oh, I think Jed will be awesome to serve on this board and help county.
And I agree with that. Commissioner Guerin, you have any comments?
Well, I'll have to get with Jason and, get some, go through a little learning curve with Jason.
Yeah, I'll be glad to help you.
Yeah, okay.
Make a motion that we appoint Jed Guerin to the Mills County Central Appraisal District Board.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Williams. I'll second that. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of appointing Jed Guerin from Mills County Appraisal Board, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Congratulations, Commissioner Guerin.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you for your
Appreciate it.
service for me. Okay, we got a computer issue. Sam, already.
We're in trouble.
Did I hit something?
I didn't think I ought to vote for myself.
Okay, so we've got
I was staying.
The record needs to reflect it.
Okay.
Commissioner Guerin has abstained.
He's got it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for looking after us, County Attorney Hale. Okay. Number 11 is regarding Chapter 59, but Sheriff Hammond is on the phone right now, probably for emergency. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to number 12. We'll come back to Sheriff Hammond after we discuss this amendment road use agreement with Swift Current Energy and Castle Gap Wind Power. Today, we got William Kelsey and Jason Presley. Gentlemen, did y'all want to come up and present to us? Good morning. How are y'all doing today?
Hey, how are you? We've got Michael Pritchard on the phone.
And Michael Pritchard is sick today. I talked to him earlier. I hope you're feeling better, Michael.
Yes, sir. I apologize. Came down with flu over the weekend, but I appreciate the platform to be in the meeting via Zoom.
Okay, well, good.
Anybody want a copy of the road use agreement?
I think we got it.
All right.
Okay, microphone there, please, sir. And good morning.
Good morning. Well, thanks for hearing us today. I think, Michael, you want to say a few words before we get started here?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce William and Jason, and they were going to give a little bit update on our construction activities and progress. And then the heart of the issue is we'd like to ask for an amendment to our county road use agreement that we got back in February of this year. And after William has gone through the status of the project, then I can go through that request.
Perfect, thanks, Michael. Well, so we thought it'd be appropriate to kind of walk you guys through where the project stands and you know, what's going on out there. And I'm here to report that the project has gone very smoothly. The construction has gone well. I mean, it's a big infrastructure project, and these kinds of projects always have challenges, but I myself have been really surprised at how well the companies that have been building the project have worked together, and I'm just amazed that we didn't have more material delays and things like that. And so the project is you know, 98% built, and you know, we're waiting on, you know, doing some commissioning and you know, a few more knickknacks that need to be handled in the substation. But the project is all but built. And most important thing for this conversation is that our heavy haul loads have all been delivered, and all that equipment has been installed at the site. And you know, I just like to also take this moment to thank you guys for all your all's cooperation, and thank the local community for all the cooperation that you guys have afforded our project as we've built it over the last year or so. So, you know what, Michael mentioned the amendment to the road use agreement. There are several roads that we didn't use during construction for heavy haul deliveries, and so, you know, we wanted to ask you guys for your consideration and excluding the roads that we didn't use from the agreement. And I'm here. Michael woke up with his fever yesterday morning, and he said, "Hey, William, why don't you drive up to North County and be there in person to visit with these folks?" And so I know that Michael and Jason and Jed have been talking about things, and so I haven't really been involved in all of those conversations. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to Michael and Jason so that they can talk about the things they talked to Jed about and properly represent you know, those conversations. And I'm here to help or answer any questions. So Michael, why don't I hand it back to you? And you know, the thing to look at, which in the road use agreements for this conversation, is really the map and Exhibit A. And I've got that marked in these agreements if you'd like to have this one. But it's the first map right after the agreement.
Okay. All right, Michael.
Yes, and I was going to share my screen if I could, but I don't know that I can. But the last page of that county road use agreement, it shows a broad picture of our wind
That's
farm.
Exhibit A, Michael.
And whenever we started this county road use agreement in February, we did not have an agreement with a private landowner to cross his property at FM 1047 and FM 572. And we were able to get that around May. And so that changed our delivery routes for all these heavy components. And so our heavy delivery routes came from Star traveling south on FM 1047. And then we cut the corner at the intersection of 572 and came in that way instead of coming from Center City and coming down County Road 332. And so that changed our heavy haul routes. And that's where the heart of this request comes from, is we would like to get the designation of a portion of County Road 332 removed from that heavy haul designation. And that would be the portion that's north of County Road 312 back to Center City at Highway 84.
Mr. Pritchard, you can go ahead and share your screen, I believe.
Okay, cool. So you're- Here.
Really have a problem in this, you have a problem in this.
So- Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner Guerin.
So,
Would you want to wait till after he speaks to respond or?
well, I visited with Jason the other day quite a bit. And we came to an agreement, I guess, Jason, about what needed to be left being done. I requested some work be done on 332. That's not in y'all heavy contract because of y'all didn't use it with what y'all are calling heavy equipment, okay? On my side of the fence, y'all have enough traffic going down that road. It wasn't heavy haul. It tore hell out of it.
On the northern part of 332.
332 from Center City to 312.
Yeah.
Y'all, and that's not written in here. But I've talked to Judge Johnson. The next time somebody gets one of these, it's gonna be more restrictive.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more restrictive on y'all's part because y'all didn't do what I thought y'all were gonna do. And that's my fault. We've had one company besides this one put in all the windmill projects in this county. We've never had to mess with them to get anything done, have we? Not that I know
Yeah, well, I totally understand that perspective, Commissioner Guerin, and really what we're looking for today is not, and I should have said this at the beginning, is not for you guys to take action because this is not a black and white decision to be made. And I've covered this with Jason and Michael yesterday. I think what we ought to do, is meet with you, go drive the roads and say, hey, you know, what makes sense and what should we do to make sure that these roads are put back the way they are. And, you know, this agreement was written at the beginning of the project before we could think of all the things that might happen. And so now here we are it's, in my opinion, the way I look at this agreement, it's a placeholder that indicates that we're here to do what, you know, what is best for the project, what is best for you guys, and what is best for the community. And that's a balance. And there's a lot of nuances to that balance. And I don't think what I'd like to do is go away from this meeting with the understanding that our team would meet with you, Jed, and we would come up together with a set of recommendations. And then come back to this group and have another meeting so that we say, hey, we've gone out and driven the roads and we've come up with this set of recommendations. And this is what all of us feel is the proper thing to do here. And so that's the action I'd like to have taken today. Not for you guys just to categorically say, this is out and this is in, because that's not fair.
Can we do this in the next few weeks as far as?
Yeah.
So.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Parson to go with us on that. If you just went through 1, 2. So,
Okay,
I will say with y'all, and it would make sense for your heavy haul. And it has nothing to do with Mills County, it's more of a TxDOT issue. On the one that we had prior to y'all, they used Farm to Market Road 575. It broke down completely. Everyone that we've seen, the one out on Large Mo Lane, it's not a county issue, but those loads are so wide that they beat the edge of the Farm to Market Road.
Sure.
And somebody has to come back and repair that, which is it's always amazed me that TxDOT is not involved in these conversations, and this is definitely a change in routes, which this is upon the market. And it does play havoc on them. But all these roads, now your repair people, I guarantee you, depending on where they're coming from, they'll use the 332 rather than going, because it's a shorter route.
Could be, yeah.
You know, I mean, in their repair, their daily maintenance and stuff, it won't be heavy haul, but it will be very huge. You know, in the future, but I'd be more than happy to go with y'all in a second.
Well, I think that's the right thing to do, and, you know, we're gonna remain the owner of the project, and, you know, it's our first wind project in these parks, and we want to be a good corporate citizen and, be a good member of, the community here, so.
Okay.
I think the proper way to engage in this particular issue is to really go look at it together and make sure we're doing the right thing.
Okay.
That include all precincts?
Well, I'm not sure where the precinct, boundaries are on this map. I guess coming to this meeting, I thought we were all in Jed's precinct.
Well, this one is, isn't it, Jed, all in your
Maybe a
precinct,
little bit much.
maybe some of Mike's.
The reason I'm asking, does it include precinct 1, 2, 3?
Well, I think it includes, the scope of this agreement, the scope of the map and the roads that we mentioned, and, so that's.
Sure.
That's what I think the scope is.
Okay,
I make a motion, we table this issue until further examination.
Well, there's not,
there's no vote on it. It's
it's just discussion on it. Jason. No-
Yeah.
No action on it.
Okay, and yeah, I just think time's of the essence. Maybe in the next few weeks, y'all can all get together and look at the roads. Go on that, okay?
Sounds good.
Any other questions, discussion? William, thank you, bud.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We'll be in touch.
Much better being here in the office.
Yes.
On Monday morning. after
Yes.
Thanksgiving, so.
Well, thank
good to See
you.
you guys.
Thank you, Michael up there and William.
Yeah.
There's nothing to, it's just
No, it's a
discussion.
discussion only. I didn't
Yeah,
read it
that's
correctly. I was reading a lot
Yeah,
about.
discussion only. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Clint, we're to number 11 now. Consider an act on chapter 59, asset report for the Attorney General's office. Clint, you have some comments on what all this is? Sheriff Hammond?
Funds that are derived. Felonies, different courts, stuff like that. It could be cars, guns, currency, real property. anything like that.
And I believe you told me this is an agreement we have to agree on every year, correct?
No, y'all don't, actually, I don't have to bring this.
Okay,
It's not required, I just want to share that information. Like I'm aware of, you know, kind of what we're doing, you know. It's ironic that we do this today, because everything, Stephen Drake, confiscated 2.5 pounds, methamphetamine, quite a bit of currency on the credit stock, and 3 years old with Bradley, he's just,
okay.
and that same person is included on this report from 6 months ago.
Oh, he's a lucky guy.
Good for business. huh?
He was trying to dodge him on this story, but this is.
And again, this is seizures on, could be drugs, cars, anything, correct? That y'all might seize.
Y'all got any questions when you go through this? It's kind of monotonous on some of this stuff.
Most of it's zero.
The expenditures, you know, the chapter 59 account, you're only limited on how you spend that money. There's been law enforcement equipment, training, supplies, stuff like that. You can't pay salaries.
Regarding vehicles that you seized, do y'all take them to the local auction once a year or something? Is that how that works?
Not just once a year, we try to keep them rotated out as much as possible, but Cowboy work really good with us. That's when you guys, I know.
Okay.
We got some set up, or they're there right now.
Is that what you do with firearms, or do y'all destroy them?
Some of them we destroy because they're not any good.
Right.
we usually don't reissue any of them. We can.
I just saw
The
that.
legislation passed that law years back, that you can take those firearms and trade them in to like GPs and stuff like that, and leave them in charge of the resale, or they don't want to resell for local. We trade.
I wouldn't either.
We trade them in on equipment, it's so much easier to do that. For.
It's not like you have a bunch of them, but I did see some.
Yeah, there's some of them online.
Do you ever have any discrepancies when you do seize currency of, say they get out of it, which they're probably not, they say we had X number of dollars, does that ever happen?
We, not through the court system, but mouthing out the door, yeah, that has happened more than once. But as far as any documented discrepancy, no, there is nothing. If we take the money, we can, and then we have to take it to the district attorney's office. They have to come out, and then it has to be deposited in a special account until that process is done. So once that process is done, we're sometimes give it back to the defendant or the agreement with the district attorney's office, 50-50 split on proceeds or sell vehicles.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Anybody?
No?
I make a motion that we approve the chapter 59 report, asset report.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Parton. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day, Clint. Okay, number 13, consider an act on declaring Veteran Service Officers HP printer number 5LJ23A as an Apple as salvage. I'll make a motion to declare that as salvage.
Also,
We got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Guerin. All those in
Wait a
favor?
minute.
What?
If we're declaring it as salvage, it's going to need to be sold. Salvage and surplus.
Yeah.
Are required to be sold. If it's not going to be sold, then it needs to be scrapped.
The second one is scrap, but this one is salvage, yeah. Okay,
So if we're going to declare it salvage, we need to figure out how we sell it.
I don't know, Veteran, this is, Craig, this is your old printer, right?
Is it trash?
Is it trash? I mean, you have, I think you couldn't get printer for it or something, ink.
be refurbished. Somebody did not. You're gonna spend on it, you're gonna spend more money on advertising and then scrap that.
So
Gerald, can we change this, from salvage to scrap right now?
Yeah, you can change.
I'll make a motion to make this,
we'll let that
but
down.
let me start off number 13, the HP printer serial number I just printed. I'll make a motion, instead of having this salvage, I'll make a motion to declare this as scrap. Is that what you do? Okay, I got a motion to declare that scrap. A second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Now, we've got this as considered scrap. So Jason, I think you started it off, was it? Or I'll make a motion. Number 13, the Veterans Service Officers HP printer is now declared as scrap. I'll make a motion that we declare this as scrap.
second.
I got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Guerin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, number 13 is scrap and gone. Number 14, consider an act on declaring maintenance facility manager's HP Office Jet Pro 8610 Pearl number, which is long. I don't think I need to read that, as scrap. Any discussion, questions?
So moved. Make a
Got a motion by Commissioner Williams. I'll second it. Got a motion by Commissioner Williams, a second by me. All those in favor declaring this as scrap, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Number 14 is done. Okay, number 15, consider an act on old EMS building. We've been discussing this for many, many months. We had the second notice appear in the paper, I think last week. So as we've discussed numerous times before, we have to have 3 notices, public notices. I think next week we will have that public notice. The date for the sale is December the 8th at 9 a.m. on the north side of the courthouse steps. I'm going to be out of town that day, but Commissioner Guerin will be here. And we'll get this hopefully taken care of. We have a minimum bid. There's really nothing to act on this.
I do have a question.
You have a question?
As far as like last time we had it, you were there. Commissioner Guerin was acting as the auctioneer, so none of the rest of us couldn't be there. Can we have that in a meeting so that we can be there?
Gerald, what do you want to repeat that again?
Well, the Open Meetings Act, well, probably more than two members of the Commissioners Court present, and you got Open Meetings Act.
Or can it be an open meeting? Can we come in here before it and be in meeting and go out there?
You gotta post it, you gotta post notice, like you can call it a special meeting. I would prefer not to. No.
I guess the reason is
Have
there,
a meeting.
Since I'm going to be gone, you could be there. I've got a judges conference that day.
We can have two members.
Yeah.
We can't have four.
the reason I'm asking is there is a possibility, I don't know yet, that I may be bidding for somebody. As an individual.
Well, I think that's fine,
Yeah. But
as long as it's just you. If there's more than two members. to this-
I won't be there. How's that?
No problem. I don't care if you're there individually or if you're physically there and you constitute a third, then that is a problem. So we need to make sure that we don't have three people.
Yeah.
I think as long as there's two of you there, you're okay.
Shouldn't be any problem with all citizens.
And it is legal for a commissioner to bid on
Yeah.
Yeah, it's public auction,
public auction.
public auction.
It's a public auction. Now,
I didn't know if we were public.
we're, it's my understanding, and the court voted on this some time ago, we're operating under the same procedure that we operated on last time, except we lowered the base bid.
Minimum bid.
And so that's what that procedure is, there is a public auction, you've done this before, you know, how you operate. The procedure is if there is a successful bidder, then that person has to have a cashier's check and now $10,000 payable to the county. Which is, and he doesn't have to have it with him, but he's got to get it there very quick. And then there's a contract that's signed. I need to update that contract and change the dates.
Right.
On it, which provides for a closing 30 days down the road. I'll change those dates and give it to
Yes,
the judge. And if anybody between now and then is expressing an interest in bidding, then they can get a copy of that contract and review it before the sale if they want.
Which is in my office, and also they can go look at the building too.
On the website. On the county website.
Yeah, okay. And Gerald, you're gonna be going that day too, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone, but I'll be available.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the old EMS building?
45,000, that's what we decided.
45,000 is the minimum bid, yes. Okay. And there's no action needs to be taken.
Whatever you want to sign it up.
That's what we decided.
Yeah, that's what we decided. 45,000, yeah.
So that'll be the opening bid.
Yeah,
And if nobody goes over, well, I guess if somebody bids 45,000, that would be the opening bid. If
Right.
nobody does that, then we have to regroup and do it again. We can't change it on the side.
right.
Sure.
So if nobody bids 45,000, then we're gonna come back here and figure out what the next thing.
Right.
But if
Okay.
somebody does bid 45, then it's auction to call, it might be multiple bids. You know how that operates.
We can't drop
No.
it. No.
Okay, any other questions on the old EMS building? Okay, moving on, number 16, consider an act on new EMS building. Guy must be tied up somewhere. I know the dirt work's progressing.
The electrical is set up and waiting, and I think next week was the plan on doing cement work and starting cement construction. So
Okay.
that's all I know.
Yeah, that's all I want to know. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, we're going to try to do the slab. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Number 17, commissioners' requests and reports. Oh, there's Guy, we're just talking about the new EMS building. Anything else to really add?
No, sir, we're supposed to start forms, building forms
Next week. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, commissioners' requests and reports. Commissioner Wright.
I want to thank Commissioner Williams for blading some of the county roads, especially the Bulls Creek Road and 500. And thank Dale for his input on helping train our individual. We appreciate that. That's all I have.
I want to say, I think he's got a really good one. I think he's going to be a really good one.
Good.
So good decision there, Mike.
We're going to try to upgrade some of these other roads as soon as we can too. So that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Guerin.
We bladed a few roads, worked on a bunch of equipment during the inclement weather. Think to start hauling more material out onto county road. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Parton.
Just recently, we had gotten that state stuff from over at Pompey Mountain. We just recently finished, actually, right before Thanksgiving, doing what we call, or what I call Main Street in Mullen, which is Sherman Street.
Which is also what county road.
Well, 544. And then 6th Street, which is also a county road in Mullen that runs down past the churches. We hauled and ground that stuff and put it down. I think the people are very appreciative. Of course, we did get a 3-inch rain. I drove it this morning. We've got a few places we got to haul a little more on and grind some more, but looks like a very positive type deal for Mullen. I guess the only other report that I would have, and I need to visit with Jed or Sonia, is to see if we ever found the bond for the
Come in the office, we'll talk about that.
So that's all I got.
We did a lot of work on County Road 527. We hauled a bunch of material, bigger rock, out of, Danny Cox's, pit over there toward Pretty, reworking that whole road. And then last week, we helped, Mike, as Mike's already stated. I think it was a great week last week, so. Good week last week. Good rain,
Yeah.
good work, got a lot of work done. That was it.
Okay, and I just want to stress regarding where the burn ban's lifted, but please, if you're burning, call in to the sheriff's department and state where you're burning, what time, et cetera. Just save some overworked volunteer fire department person having run out there. I did a swearing in ceremony last week for Sharon Grady of Mullen, which was a very pleasant job to do. She just got her Juris Doctorate degree, passed her bar exam, so congratulations to her of Mullen. Christmas lights, as you all have noticed, are up and going. Everything looks good. Thanks to Guy and all the people who helped decorate the individual lights. Also, I did an inquest between Center City Store last week. I covered for the JP, as many of you know, on deals like that. And Kim was sick for about 2 days there, and she's back to work. And that's all I got. The rains were great, and Thanksgiving is good, and everyone have a great week.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor that we adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good week.